we are talking about Web3 gaming. Leading game retailer GameStop is teaming up with the Telos Foundation to expand its Web3 gaming offerings. The partnership will see Web3 games using Telos's infrastructure get linked to GameStop's upcoming gaming launchpad called Player. Joining us now is Telos Foundation Head of Business Development, AJ Dinger. Welcome to the show, AJ.
Morning, guys. Very excited to be here. Looking forward to the conversation. By the way, a lot of macro stuff going on over the last couple of weeks, so appreciate you giving me a few minutes to talk about this. We're very excited about it.
Of course, we're happy to have you here. Now, we just spoke about Apple deplatforming or threatening to deplatform apps. This is a really big issue that's spoken about in the Web3 gaming ecosystem. You know, Apple, Steam have deplatformed a lot of Web3 games. Is this product an answer to that?
Yeah, I think this is, and you're seeing, more than just Player. You've seen Epic take the same approach, right? They've got now their own game launcher, and a lot of this is to avoid that 30% rate. Which, by the way, Steam, a lot of the platforms in space have basically kind of followed Apple's footprint on this and said, hey, the platform is the most important thing. We're going to take our pound of flesh. So, hopefully this, and I'd say generally in Web3, when you look at the fee structures of a lot of these things, they're meaningfully less than what the traditional models are. So it represents a huge opportunity. This is certainly a piece of that.
Thanks, AJ. I guess my question is what's working in Web3 gaming? What's showing early signs of promise? What's sticking with gamers and also builders? We hear a lot about Web3 gaming as maybe this potentially next big wave that brings in all sorts of people to the crypto ecosystem next time around. Here in the early innings, what are you seeing as working?
Yeah, so I would say, and certainly you're right, we're still in the early innings there. I mean, if you kind of look back at the history of Web3 gaming, a lot of it was hey, jump into the casino, buy an NFT or do a land sale purchase and hope that there's a game in 18 months. But really what you were doing is effectively speculating on the token and the game itself for any hype. What you've seen now, and I was just at 3XP in Pasadena last week, it was really one of the first conferences where you actually saw gameplay being kind of first and foremost, and there were actually quality games that people wanted to sit down and play. So that's been a really exciting step in kind of the evolution here. But gameplay first is really important. And, we can, when we start talking a little bit about the GameStop Player launcher, right, that's going to be a critical aspect of that as well, right? Free to play options. You're not forced to buy an NFT or an avatar to actually play the game, but quality gameplay, enjoyable gameplay first is starting to come to the fore. And that's probably been, 24 months in the making. A lot of companies were able to raise a lot of money. And now you're starting to see some of these, the products actually coming to market.
So what I would ask is, what does it actually mean for GameStop and for Player to be supporting or to be sort of presenting Web3 games, right? The traditional model around this type of thing is a reseller model where effectively you have inventory concerns and then somebody is effectively buying a game from GameStop. It doesn't seem likely based on how Web3 works that that's what's going to happen here. So what's the kind of value in it besides narrative for a company like GameStop to push something?
Yeah, so, good question. I have to be very careful about opining on behalf of GameStop. What I think it means for the space is, if you look at, kind of what GameStop represents, it's really interesting, right? Because they're effectively the Switzerland of kind of the gaming world, right? They're not a studio, they're not a game developer, but they are a major distributor in the space, right? So they have 50 million customers annually, 4,000 plus stores worldwide. They've got 30 million folks that come to their website every month. They've got 6 million paying pro subscribers. And they typically, on a major game release, will actually account for about 50% of the initial sales, right? So they're the largest distributor for, call it AAA and kind of traditional game launches. So we're really excited about that. And then if you put it in the context of the broader, Web3 gaming ecosystem, it was funny. I was talking to a lot of the gaming companies at the show last week, and I was starting my number with, hey, there's about 1 million gamers worldwide in Web3 gaming, and a lot of them would laugh at me and say, yeah, it's probably closer to 250 to 500,000. I mean, there's maybe 2 million active wallets that can be linked to people. They say there's these huge numbers in terms of gaming volume, but most of that's bots. So let's just say it's 500,000 people. There are 3 billion gamers worldwide. right? So we haven't even scratched the surface. And the thing that we're really excited about with GameStop, there are several game launchers that are coming to the fore, but they have the distribution that a lot of these other game launchers don't have to get eyeballs and get people actually playing in Web3. And then what we're trying to do is put all the infrastructure in place now that allows that experience to feel much more like Web2, right? So, easy login, no seed phrases, social login, email login, right? You get a wallet, you may not even know it. You want to buy an NFT, which, by the way, we're not calling NFTs anymore because that's still a 4-letter word, digital assets, right? I mean, if you look at kind of, any sort of polling on gamers, 75% of gamers would be willing to pay more for a skin, an avatar, an in-game asset if they knew they owned it and had resale value. I mean, that's, at its core, one of the biggest value propositions of this. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of hangover from some of the early, GameFi stuff that has kind of kept traditional gamers out. We think this has the opportunity to break that down, which is why we were so excited about the partnership.
Yeah, I want to go to that. I'm glad you brought it up. I want to go to the cultural headwinds here with winning over gamers, right? We saw it with there was all sorts of examples of this, like Ubisoft rolled out some NFT thing and there was this huge uproar. Everyone was all pissed off. Gamers said it was like this fresh grift. I want to talk about sort of like the pulse check in the gaming community for whether or not the embrace of Web3 gaming may be there this time around. And again, what sort of narrative or feature tweaks are involved in making Web3 gaming more accessible to the masses. What are you seeing sort of the temperature check of how gamers like or dislike the idea of Web3 gaming?
Yeah, so from my standpoint, it comes back to gameplay quality, right? So one of the big challenges that has left a stigma is that there were a lot of games that either didn't have games and it was you were purchasing an NFT for the promise of a future game. And it was a clever fundraising tactic for a lot of these early stage games. And the traditional fundraising mechanisms for gaming are pretty exploitive in general. So it was a creative solution to kind of a age old problem in the space. But again, it comes back to quality of gameplay. And I think if you have that breaks down the barriers. If people want to play the games, then they will come and play the games. I think a free-to-play option is critically important. You shouldn't be price gated out of the, kind of from day one and say, buy this and hope that the game is fun. You should be able to play the game and say, hey, 2 weeks later, I mean, this is more of a traditional gaming journey is, hey, I really like this game. But if I buy this thing, it gets me, greater access or some sort of advantage or something, right? That's how I think this whole kind of incepting into the Web3 space is going to happen.
All right. Well, AJ Dinger from the Telos Foundation, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Web3 gaming. Have a great day.
Thanks for the time, guys. Really appreciate it.